2017 has been an insane year for games. We had a lot of crowd-pleasing games like Persona 5, Neo, Nier Automata, and even with all of that overall quality to happen this year, I'd say we still have a pretty clear pick to win it all. Right now, Breath of the Wild is definitely the one to beat. Easily. And if I'm being honest, I'd say that if any game even has the potential to dethrone it, it would have to be Mario Odyssey. But that's just potential. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a surefire way of it happening. Really, I think the fair question to ask is, could it happen? If so, how? Honestly, the answer is complicated. I'd say based on what we know so far, it's possible for Mario Odyssey to be better, but it won't be easy. And that's not to say no one will think it's better regardless, or maybe they'll think some other game is better. This isn't really about that. This is more about the consensus. Both Mario and Zelda games have a history of being genre-defining releases for future generations to come. The original Super Mario was, and in many ways still is, the benchmark for 2D platformers. The original Zelda is a case study of how to inject a sense of exploration in the feeling of independent experiences even back then, and is the basis for many open world games today. Go forward a bit to Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time to see yet again they redefine their respective genres all over again while simultaneously showing every other dev how to translate their 2D games into the third dimension, regardless of genre. With Zelda in particular coming out on top, with many people hailing it as the best game of its time, maybe all time. Don't tell nobody, but I disagree. More on that up here. Now in 2017, Breath of the Wild is the game that developers, critics, and players alike have their eye on as far as the new standard in its genre. I'd say that's because of the developers' focus on straying away from the Zelda norms. Breath of the Wild was all about bringing Zelda into modern day and redefining pre-established norms in that genre as a whole. Breath of the Wild is very much a case of taking what works and making those things better. Zelda takes a lot from games like Skyrim, Far Cry, and Dark Souls, all the while adding on its own refinements with things like the chemistry engine, increased exploration through climbing without any real barriers, and leaving it up to players to make discoveries on their own rather than charting out distinct paths to discovering the world or overcoming challenges. On the other hand, Mario Odyssey seems to have a separate approach. Rather than reinventing 3D Mario through borrowing from contemporary games and improving upon those ideas, Mario Odyssey aims to perfect an older formula that has since been abandoned in favor of simpler formats. That's not to say Mario Odyssey isn't trying anything new or trying to solve any problems from past Mario games. That's not the case at all. It's just improving on concepts that haven't been innovated on in a long time. 3D Mario games are kind of the precursor to the open world genre. They're not quite open, but at the same time, they're not quite linear either. They're somewhere in between. The advantage to this is it makes it easier to introduce and throw away new concepts in isolated portions of the game in a natural way. Open world games can't really manage things like this effectively because of the nature of the world. When the goal is a giant cohesive open world, it's not as easy to introduce mechanics that are only used in short bursts without it being forced or random. And that extends to the world itself. To be cohesive, there needs to be a seamless approach to making the world diverse. Areas in the world should blend together. While Mario Odyssey's approach allows for different parts of the game to look drastically different without having to worry about how to naturally stitch them together. Mario Odyssey can also have the edge in its diversity of gameplay. Mario is a lot more agile than Link, and his moveset is a lot more diverse. And that's even before Mario's ability to capture a variety of enemies, objects, allies? Breath of the Wild gives the player control by way of a comparatively limited moveset that can interact with the world. So gameplay ends up being diverse, but it's more situational and less intentional. You're given a tool set at the beginning of the game and are tasked with progressing with that predefined tool set. There's a lot that can be done with that, as you'll see after exploring the world, clearing the shrines, and conquering dungeons, but nothing is able to be too different because of this. Mario being given new abilities almost entirely throughout the experience makes the game feel fresh throughout, rather than giving you a different take on something you already knew, like Breath of the Wild does. Mario Odyssey makes you gain an understanding of new things. Breath of the Wild makes you understand your current things by making you use them in new contexts. Which one of these approaches are better? I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say either one is better, but we don't really know everything there is to know about Mario Odyssey, and that might be another point in its favor. All of this is to say, who knows if Mario Odyssey would be better? I sure don't. However, looking into the stuff that we know so far about Mario Odyssey, it's good to know that it at least has a chance to go head to head for Game of the Year. But those are my thoughts. What do you think? Will Mario Odyssey come out on top? Will Zelda hold on to Game of the Year for 2017? Or are you rallying behind something dumb like Persona 5? I'm just joking. Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and while you're at it, click those subscribe and bell buttons. They help a lot. And also, you'll have the heads up on whenever we upload something new. Okay, that's it for me. See you next week. Or maybe sooner. Again, click the bell.